Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel, Tomcat Stitchery. I'm Whitney and happy Friday. I hope you guys are all doing well. Today we're going to be talking about how to get our SoJO back, which if you're wondering what SoJO is, it's if you have lost the excitement and the desire and the will to sew and why it's important not to lose that. We're going to be talking about that today. But before we get into that, I have a couple of announcements. Number one, today is Friday, which means we have a Love Notions Feature Friday pattern. And today's pattern is the Sabrina Slims. This is a lovely pattern, can be made up really great in like a heavyweight ponte. I've made them before. I couldn't find a good picture of me in them though, but I made them in the navy and black plaid. They were in my winter capsule a couple years ago. So I think I've worn them pretty steadily in the winter, the past couple of winters. Anyway, that is on sale today. It's their $5 Feature Friday, and the code 10Tomcat gets you an additional 10% off that sale price. So you absolutely want to go have a look at that. Oh, other thing, I have a new intro into the video. Yes, I need to mention that as well, the elephant in the room, that we had a sound created for Tomcat Stitchery. This is in our classes, and so we hired like a composer that did a little sound for us. So we have just kind of made the intro and the credits at the beginning and ending of the videos a little bit more in line with like the new website and all that kind of stuff to make everything kind of track and look the same across all the different avenues and all that kind of jazz. Trying to make things a little bit more consistent across everything. Make them a little bit more sense. So I know it's different and I know change can be hard. The chair's not going anywhere, but having the new intro and stuff. So you'll have to let me know what you think about that and if you enjoy the new Tomcat Stitchery sound. Okay. The other thing, that was not the second thing I wanted to say. The other thing is that So Haley Jane. So the So Haley Jane boxes, if you follow me on Instagram, you see me doing a little unboxing each month of what I get in the luxury box. And I just wanted to let you all know, mention it here on the channel. May's box was really cute. You get all sorts of stuff. In the luxury box, you get a pattern. This was May's pattern. And I always love it because it's usually a new to me pattern company. Not always, but a lot of times it is. It's a paper pattern. You get this, usually like a fun little piece of trim. This was this really cute little daisy trim that came in this month's box. I got a little button coaster that came in the box. And then you get usually like a little snack. I've already eaten it. It's very good, little shortbread cookies. And then you get a main fabric and then a supplementary fabric. The supplementary fabric, you get 1 meter of it. And I got this, some of this pale pink double cotton gauze. And I'm totally going to make my daughter like a little boxy tank top or, because this is absolutely one of her colors, or a little boxy shirt, something like that. Whatever I can squeeze out of 1 meter of fabric. But I love cotton gauze. And then the main fabric, which in the luxury box is 3.5 meters, is this dead stock vintage cotton. It was a reproduction of a 1930s curtain, I think. But anyway, just to make a really cute summer dress. And then you get matching thread for the main fabric. And then this wonderful magazine that she puts out that just has all sorts of like tips and tricks. It's really beautifully done. That's all included in the luxury box. But next month, in June's box, yours truly is going to be in the magazine. So if you've been waiting to try out one of her boxes, now is a great time. I've got a 10% off your first box code. That is 10Tomcat. But I also wanted to 10Tomcat or Tomcat 10. I'll write it here. I can't remember now which way it is. I'll write it here. Anyway, I also want to remind you that on the new website, we have a resources section over there. So if you're ever looking for any affiliate links or affiliate codes, that's where all that, you can find all of that right there in that section. Discount codes and that kind of thing are all right over there. So anyway, that I just wanted to put that in there. But in order to get June's box, you do have to order your So Haley Jane box by tomorrow, the 25th, May 25th, by end of day. And she's UK, so their time zone. Anyway, if that's something that's of interest to you. So Just wanted to point that out since I'm going to be in the magazine next month, which is very exciting. I've made a lot of really wonderful things with the fabrics I've gotten from her. And actually, this one right here is a So Haley Jane fabric that I want to make up into something probably sooner rather than later, because I think that's a beautiful rayon. So anyway, okay, let's start. Now that we're 5 minutes in, let's start talking about tips to get our SoJO back. So what happens? Why do we go through those times in our life where, we're obsessed with sewing? We want to sew, every spare moment that we get. We just find it energizing and so exciting. And then all of a sudden, some days you're like, there's nothing I want to sew, or I'm too overwhelmed to sew, or whatever it might be. And how do we get that feeling of excitement back? Like, how do we get that joy and that, I can't wait to get down to my sewing room, that feeling back? And that's what we're going to be talking today, because I've got 5 tips, because I have recently lost my own SoJO. And mine has been, I think, mostly due to we traveled a ton this spring. Jenny and I did, for Tomcat Stitchery. So I was away from my home, out of my schedule a ton. We've just had a very jam-packed spring, end of winter and into the spring, just with all sorts of things going on behind the scenes. So, being tired and, overwhelmed a little bit, I guess. But all those kind of things can contribute to just a lack of creativity, lack of, wanting to be down here and just doing things for fun. That can, all pair into that. Now, why it is important for me to not lose that is that I very much use sewing as a mental health mechanism for myself. So sewing is a way for me to improve my mental health. It's a way for me to just get myself in a better frame of mind, help with my anxiety, help with depression. It's just being creative, and in that space is a way that I can balance my life and my mental health to keep things good, so that I'm not tanking in other areas of my life. It's an important part of my mental health journey. Being creative, and for me that is sewing. Now, I've been sewing for a long time, and I definitely ebb and flow between, oh my gosh, I just want to sew everything, I'm so excited, that sort of thing. And then other times where I'm like, God, there's just nothing, I don't even want to be down there right now. Not that I don't want to be down there, it's just nothing is pulling me towards the sewing room. Other stuff hops in place, other chores, other things like that take its place. But it's important. And it's starting to come back. So today I wanted to give my 5 tips. If you're noticing that you're in that slump as well, and you just don't feel like sewing anything, and how do I get that back, because it is a hobby I enjoy, how to regain that SoJO. So tip number 1 is to try something new. Now, what do I mean by this? This could mean a new technique that you've never done before. This could mean maybe a scarier, more challenging pattern that you've not done before. Maybe it means trying a sew-along for a pattern that you're scared to do, but maybe you try a sew-along. It could be taking a class of something that maybe kind of scares you. It could be all sorts of things. For me, the something new that I have been trying recently is projector sewing. So this is how I've started cutting out my patterns, and there's so much for me to learn in this realm. I'm just starting to learn how to do pattern alterations digitally. I can't do much yet, but just learning a whole new skill set that goes with my sewing has been, it's injected a whole new excitement, because it's something new and different, something new for me to sink my teeth into. I love to learn new things, and so that also gets my creativity going, and it just kind of rejuvenates everything. So that is tip number 1, is just to find something new, whatever that is, for you to try. Again, whether it's a new technique, a new fabric, maybe even that you're scared to work with. But I find learning something new then sets other things off, and again, it makes my creativity bubble, it makes my curiosity bubble, and all those good things, imagination, they all start to take off when I'm doing something new for the first time, even though it can be kind of scary. So that is another good one to kind of get out of that slump. Okay, number 2. Reorganizing your pattern and or fabric stash. Now, I think that this is wonderful, and this is a great way to do things without having to like spend money. Like we already own, most of us already own tons of new, patterns that we just haven't had a chance to sew up, or fabric that we've purchased that, maybe it's all in a bucket or something. So sometimes it's just a matter of pulling some of those things out and just reorganizing them. Touching things. Sometimes I'm not even reorganizing. I'm just opening up my drawers and kind of looking again, and touching. A lot of times I go into projects kind of knowing in my head what fabric I want to use, whether usually it's from my stash. But sometimes I'm not sure. And I think it can be good, even if I think I know in my head what fabric I want to use, to go back, because there's some things that I've purchased that I really love that maybe that's not at the forefront of my mind. I just haven't thought about it. So going back and looking at what those are, I can find that to be very inspiring. Maybe I'm like, oh my gosh, I forgot about, well, the other day, someone had commented on an older video about a French terry that I was going to use at the end of last summer, and I just ran out of time. And it's a very summery print. It's white with like a really pretty aqua pattern on it, a beautiful French terry, soft French terry. And I put it away because we just got to the end of summer and I wasn't going to be wearing it in the fall. And they mentioned it and I was like, oh my gosh, yes, I do have that fabric and I need to pull that out again to be made up, because now is the time to be making that fabric up. So things like that can cause some inspiration. The same with patterns. I know a lot of us buy our patterns digitally and those can be a little bit harder to go through. So maybe it could even be, there's different databases like the Fold Line, where you can go through and search dress patterns. Not that you have to buy anything new, but sometimes going through and just looking at what's out there, and I'll be like, oh my gosh, I own that pattern. I should make that one up. Just finding inspiration that way. So whether that's going through your digital files or going through your physical pattern stash, whatever that might be, I usually find that to be quite inspiring. And sometimes it's not even something that I planned on doing, like, just an extra dress, but I find it, fun and exciting. And then it's restarted everything else. And now I'm ready to get back to my list of things that I wanted to make. Okay. Number 3, a lot of time, and this has also happened to me recently. The missing SoJO could be caused by frustration. So you have too many sewing fails in a row. So whether that's you just can't nail the fit, or you tried a new technique and it just didn't work, or you're trying a new pattern company and it just doesn't work for you. Or maybe you tried a new style hoping that it would be something you would like, and it's just not a style that you really like on your body. Whatever it might be, too many sewing frustrations or fails in a row can be so damaging to the creative juices and to that excitement and that forward moving motion. So I always suggest, and this is something that I am trying to remind myself about right now, go back to a pattern that you know fits you, something that you know you love, make it up in a fabric that you found in your stash that you loved when you bought it, you still love it, and make a win, something that you know is going to be a for sure win. A lot of times these are known as TNT patterns, which means tried and true, but these are the patterns that I can make these. I know exactly what size, I've already made the alterations I need to this pattern. I know every single time I make it, I really love it. Finding one of those and just cleansing your palette with a win can make a huge difference. I am also in a rut. I've had a couple of sewing fails. We'll be talking more about that later. Just Stashify video, actually. But a couple of back-to-back sewing fails that I have found to be, because it happens to me too, really damaging to the ego, but also just frustrating. Like you spend all this time and money on the fabric and on, making these things. And while I enjoyed the making process, and I do need to remind myself that the making was enjoyable, for one of the things, the other thing was the reason that it was a fail was because of the sewing, but it happens. But just cleansing the palette and moving on to something that is a win that is going to look good because you've made it before, can be all that you need to really just kind of restart things. All right, number 4. inspiration from others. Now, this can come in all sorts of forms. This could come from, looking at stores that you really like, especially stores that you may love that you can't necessarily afford to buy clothes from. That's one of my favorite things to do. Like, I absolutely can't buy this brand new, but I can look at it and appreciate it and figure out how I'm going to recreate it. But looking at online stores, following people's Pinterest boards and looking at what people are pinning, that kind of thing. YouTube videos. What are people sewing? What are people that you enjoy watching? What are they sewing? Instagram accounts, finding some of those Instagram accounts that you just love everything that they put out or most of the stuff that they put out, see what they're currently sewing and getting some inspiration that way. Another thing can be like newsletters. So I subscribe to some newsletters that I really love. And, sometimes it'll even just be like tips and tricks on there that I'm like, oh my gosh, I've never thought about, putting a zipper in that way or whatever. And wanting to try out something like that. In addition to most of the sewing company newsletters also have a, here's what people have been making with our patterns or whatever type section. And if you don't, you should sign up for our newsletter because we send one out weekly and they're full of wonderful inspiration and things that are happening around the sewing community as well as in Tomcat Stitchery World. That is linked down below in the description box. But all of these places can be great ways to find some inspiration. People watching in real life, go to the park, go to the beach, go to whatever is close to you. I love airports for this, but sit down and see what people are wearing around you. Even things that you're like, whoa, what is that person wearing? But take a look at it like, okay, what do you think that they loved about that? And I can find that to be inspiring too. Maybe something I would never wear, but I'm like, okay, but it's kind of working for that person and why? But just seeing what people out there are wearing and being inspired by some of the beautiful things in real life. And that could also be things in nature, maybe a flower or a butterfly or a bug of some sort, or I don't know, a beautiful painting, mural that's on the wall of a building. Things like that can also just be inspiring as well. So just taking a minute, being present in the moment. This is a big one for me, trying to be present in the moment, taking in what's around you and finding inspiration in those places as well. Okay. And then tip 5 is challenging yourself in some way, pushing yourself outside of your comfort zone or just challenging yourself creatively to push yourself outside of the box a little bit can also be great for rejuvenating that SoJO. So this could be, sewing up for sewing challenges. Me Made May is going on right now. You come up with your own challenge. What does that look like? Challenge yourself to do certain things. Blouse month that was back in April. That was, making a blouse, seeing what other people are making and, trying to redo it yourself. You don't have to take part in a, published challenge. You can make one up for yourself. Like, I'm going to style this pair of shorts, twice a week for the entire month of June and try and style them in different ways or whatever it might be to kind of get those creative juices flowing as well. Another one is with this and challenging yourself might be pattern testing. So I love to pattern test. There's just a couple companies that I do it for, but you'll see call outs of different pattern companies will put call outs for different levels of sewing and different sizes and all that kind of stuff. If there's a company you like and they do a call out, sign up for it. Sometimes being on a timeline even and having to make a pattern that might be kind of scary to you can be a great way to kind of fuel the creativity and you're also helping the sewing community out as well to get better product out there. But any of those, again, following a sew along. Maybe there's a pattern that you're like, oh, I could never make that. But maybe you follow that sew along for that pattern where they're holding your hand all the way and seeing if that might push you a little bit outside your comfort zone to try something you wouldn't normally do. So there we go. Those are my 5 tips. And I have to say, I am doing all of these myself as well right now in order to get that spark back. And, sometimes it just goes, life happens and we're coming to the end of the school year. There's a ton of reasons why. Soccer is consuming us right now. My son wraps up, and his team that he's been with since like, I don't know, 6th grade. Half of them are seniors, and so they're graduating. And so we have a lot of emotions going around on that right now. But he'll be starting, I mean, both my kids will be starting their senior year. So there's a lot of emotions also swirling around about that. But there's a ton going, even as we're heading into the summer months, giving yourself a little bit of grace. So here, these are just some bonus tips. Number one, don't force it. If you're making yourself sit down in your sewing room and you just don't feel like being there, that's when mistakes happen, folks. That is exactly another sewing fail that happened to me recently. I was trying to force myself to be down there and to figure out this technique, and it just wasn't working. And not only was I getting fed up and annoyed, and I ruined 2 shirt fronts that I've saved them because I'm going to show you guys. But then in my anger, I walked out of my sewing room to show Jenny, who was in the workroom, and complain. And I accidentally caught my toe on my son's weight bench and probably broke it. It's the same toe that I probably broke, was that last summer or the summer before? Which is I catch it a lot more. Which is probably why. Anyway, so see, don't force it. Don't force it. And if you are to that point where you are frustrated and now you've caught your toe on a weight bench and it hurts really bad, it's feeling much better. Don't worry about me. It's feeling much better. My foot is black and blue. My toe is black and blue, but I am able to function normally throughout the day. I will be fine. And it doesn't hurt to walk around anymore. But snack and a nap. If you are getting to a point in your sewing and you're just getting, and this is good, not even just for sewing, anything in life, you're getting really frustrated and you want to like melt down and have a cry, like a toddler's tantrum, just like you would do for a toddler, eat a little something, nutritious preferably, eat a little something, and then lie down, whether that's sleeping through the night, or whether that's eating dinner and sleeping through the night, or having a little snack and closing your eyes for 15 minutes, whatever that is, step away, snack and a nap. You'll find the world is so much better on the other side. And of course, be kind to yourself. Be kind to yourself. This is a hobby. The reason we're doing this is because it's a hobby. So we don't want to force anything. We want to regain the excitement again, because that's why we fell in love with this hobby before. And if you can, do stuff with a friend. Jenny and I did some sewing. Well, she was cutting out and I was doing some sewing the other day, and that makes a huge difference. So whether you're doing things virtually, whether you're in maybe a sewing community or a Facebook group, like virtually, chatting with other people that also have the same love, chat with me on the comments. I'm always open for chatting. If you have no one to talk sewing with, you've got me. I love to talk sewing with anybody. So pop it into the comments, send me messages. There's a contact me form on the website, whatever it is. I'm always happy to talk about sewing. But yeah, that is, finding a good community, finding a friend nearby. Again, maybe it is virtual. A friend of mine who lives 2.5 hours away, during COVID, when lockdown, I hate to bring that up, but during lockdown, we set up a time once a week, and this actually continued afterwards because, again, we live far away from each other, and we would just set up our phone and FaceTime each other, and we would both be like cutting out a project or sewing, and so we'd just be like chatting a little bit, but we'd be on the phone together for, I don't know, hour or 2 hours. Just kind of messing around and chatting about sewing, which was a fun way for us to connect again, because we don't live close to one another, and to have that moment. So definitely, if you can, find a friend, but virtual is better than nothing. So reach out to people and make some sewing friends. It's a wonderful community. It's a very friendly community. It's a very easy place to be accepted and nurtured. Okay, guys, that is it. Those are my 5 tips for regaining your SoJo. Hopefully none of you are missing your SoJo. Hopefully you all are creating things and having a wonderful spring and feeling inspired and creative. I'm on my way back. I can feel the tide has shifted and I am on my way back. In fact, I've got a couple of things I just altered this morning that I'm ready to cut out and sew up. And they are patterns I've made before. So things that I know are going to fit well and be wins, which is where I'm at right now. I just need some wins. I need some sewing wins. So you're not alone there. Anyway, that is all I've got for today, folks. I hope you have a wonderful Friday. I hope you get some sewing in. If you are in the US, this is a long weekend. We've got Memorial Day on Monday, so it's a 3-day weekend for us. So if you do have some beginning of summer plans, Northern Hemisphere going into summer, I hope you have a wonderful weekend. If you can sneak away some sewing time in there as well. If not, I hope you're just having a good, relaxing time because that is important as well. And I'll be back on Tuesday with, I think Tuesday is going to be my summer capsule wardrobe. So what I'm putting into my summer capsule and my plans for things that I'm going to make. So stay tuned for that. All right, guys, have a good weekend. I'll see you on Tuesday.